Hi, everybody. It's Colson Hillier. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Alorica. Welcome to the second in our Fireside chat series where we're talking about some of the challenges and implications of COVID-19 as it relates to business continuity planning, working at home, and the future of business process outsourcing. Today, I'm excited to have Bob Corsi join us. Bob is Head of Enterprise Planning here at Alorica, which means that he oversees our workforce and manages all of the workforce scheduling and planning, as well as the business intelligence that we get from all of our interactions that we have every day. And he'll be talking a little bit about some of the blend of people, process, and technologies that he's responsible for bringing together to service our clients. So welcome, Bob. Great to have you with us today.
Thanks, Colson. Glad to have time.
So let's just start with your job in general, Bob. So I mean, the one thing that's constant in this world is change. And, you know, a month ago, we were talking about all kinds of risks to our clients' businesses, whether that was, you know, financial risk or the election year and political risk and how that might influence demand. And, you know, then we have a major event around health risk thrown at the business. And I'd like you to share a little bit about what you do, how you help companies to sort of manage through uncertainty and ensure that their objectives are met.
Well, it's an interesting first question regarding the notion of managing risk in the business. If you really think about it, business process outsourcing grew up as an industry around bringing the value of a more effective and cost-effective management of risk for business processes in client organizations that they weren't necessarily core. That makes this industry better prepared than most to take on the type of disruption and business continuity challenge that is implicit in a pandemic situation. We've survived and managed through and helped our clients thrive through situations, major weather-driven events, or other types of disruptions in the past. And similarly, financial disruptions, such as the financial crisis of 2008, and now we find ourselves managing through this crisis. I don't want to make it sound like it's more of the same. That's not true. This is obviously a very different situation than the others I mentioned, but the skills that as an industry we developed through those events are all being brought to bear now. Probably the biggest difference now, if you really think about it, is move from fundamentally a environment, production, to a distributed environment where we are now supporting people working at home, handling transactions in a home-based environment, and still deliver that same level of discipline of process that our clients depend on us to bring to the table. And that's really been the conversion challenge. That then I think Alorica has done well with it. We've moved 2,000 employees each day through the first 3 weeks or so of this process over to a work at home environment from an in-center environment, and we've continued to deliver on what our clients need every day. And that's really been our achievement over the last several weeks.
Yeah, I mean, you know, getting to know you over the past year, Bob, I've just been amazed at the scale at which your sort of orchestration works and the ability to deliver on a regular basis. And, you know, the last 4 weeks have been completely different, right? Different operational models, different balances of, you know, having a workforce that's, you know, split between at home and brick and mortar. Can you talk just a little bit about like some of the biggest challenges or learnings that you've had in managing a workforce that is, you know, 50% at home now of Alorica employees, and you've never had anything like that in your 20-year career. So how did that come together, and what did you learn from the experience?
Well, you know, ironically, when you think about it, it's very, very different. But at the end of the day, it's based on the same fundamentals as the business was before this transition. You have to basically invest in your people, in your process, and your technology, and you have to leverage those investments to get the outcomes that your clients are looking for. We had to teach people how to interact with each other. We had to teach people how to interact electronically more so than they were probably used to in center environment. We had to teach team leads how to be able to successfully coach and develop their folks, how to monitor the folks' progress and behavior in an at-home environment where they're not in the same room as the agent they're looking to coach and develop. So again, a lot of that was about the people, getting the people's buy-in, and then ultimately developing the right processes quickly. As we move forward with this, many of our clients likely will want to continue to use work at home as a portion of their deployment, or perhaps the entire deployment going forward, and I think we're ready to support that.
Yeah, well, we had a conversation with Joe Buggy was in the first installment, and we talked a lot about how this is going to be a sustained change in the way that our clients think about what's been a challenge, what's worked well, and how do you think that evolves going forward?
All right. Well, I mean, I think the first and most encouraging piece has been that much as we expected, the most fundamental metric, which is the employee attendant at work or not. Though that has been taking a notable step forward. The absentee rate on our employees has fallen in the work at home environment, and we picked up about a 5 to 8% lift in attendance performance for at home employees versus in center employees. So that very much expected and somewhat predictable change did manifest itself very quickly. So that's very, very good. Beyond that, there's a different management model involved. There's a different set of challenges. There's different types of distractions or interruptions or issues of that ilk in an at-home environment than what you get in an in-center environment. But our team manager force is doing a nice job of managing through those and using the tools at their disposal to effectively communicate around those. So far, results there have been very positive. Longer term, we'll probably get a better handle or at least more insight as to the quality performance of the agents versus in center. Right now, we don't really see a meaningful difference, but over time, one would think that as the job begins to appeal to a different demographic group than might have been before, we hopefully can ultimately coach to a higher level of ultimately employee, frankly, rep quality. We'll have a broader range to ultimately choose from in our recruiting process. And then, really the key issue probably is, the thing that's been the biggest hurdle or biggest concern of clients in the past about using work at home, which is the security of the environment. And we can do a very nice job of creating a very secure environment, one that meets PCI compliance requirements and ultimately can be safe for our clients, customers to be confident that they're getting the service they need with no unnecessary risk or the same level of the same absence of risk they would have had in a contact center environment they could have here. We can enforce things that we would do, the clean desk kind of things, and absence of, we can enforce the absence of cameras, things like that in a at home environment, largely as well as we can in a call center environment.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So, I don't want to say that we're sort of through the crisis of the pandemic in any way, shape, or form. There's still a lot that needs to be done in order to get this behind us. But have you started talking to the clients or getting feedback on what their sort of post-COVID-19 world looks like? Are you sensing any trends in terms of either the confidence or lack thereof around how businesses will bounce back? Whether or not work at home is something that is important to maintain as an ongoing strategy for clients? Are they looking towards automation solutions? What are some of the things that you think will be important to clients as we sort of get through this pandemic and start to come out the other side?
I think that could be a combination of many of the things that you said. First of all, most clients seem to envision a future where the work at home component is at least a part of how they want to address the concern about business continuity going forward and business reliability, something that perhaps wasn't part of the thought process before. We're seeing more clients more clients energized about that solution than we've seen in the past. Generally, the energy is going towards doing work at home in North American locales, more so than in the offshore locales. But I think in time that would change as well. I think that could become they've seen as a viable solution as well as a long-term application. Even if you're in a hub and spoke type environment, which is favored by many of the clients. And what I mean by that is a situation where the agents are hired into a given location and building, they're trained there, they have to reach a certain level of competence and performance consistency before they're permitted to go home. Even in that circumstance, then you say, well, then everyone's going to be located within, say, 10 miles of the hub. That still doesn't have the same negative impact in a connectivity or weather-driven emergency like it would in the past. So it's still a very good risk diversification strategy. I think we're going to see a lot of folks using that going forward as a way to make this work.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. We had done a survey just going into the COVID-19 crisis around how our clients felt around their business continuity plans. And less than 25% said that they were highly confident with them. And it just shows you the sort of opportunity to rethink some of the traditional models in order to drive up those confidence scores. So,
I mean, the traditional flaw, or to say this way, the hole in virtually every traditional BCP plan in this industry has been that the technology side was actually very well backed up. The ability for us to move traffic from one location to another, and different groups of people in different locations attempt to handle sets of transactions for our clients, that was been established for quite some time and is very executable. The issue is that unless the client is wanting to make the investment in an alternative workforce that's available in the new location to truly back you up, the ability of the people on the receiving end of the redirected traffic, because now the most important part of BCP, as we're all learning, is the trained employee themselves. It's fundamentally, it's about the connectivity, it's about moving the transactions, but what really matters is you have a trained person at the end of the line ready to actually help with the transaction. And that's what work at home would help establish in a much higher percentage of cases.
Yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense, Bob. I can't thank you enough for taking a little time to share your experience with us. I've really appreciated the work that you do in managing such a complex workforce and rubric of sites and skill sets and clients and offices and now work at home. So we're looking forward to your next act. And and one other thing that we share is we're both Philadelphia sports fans. So hopefully before too long, we'll be able to get back out and watch the Sixers and the Phillies.
That would be terrific. Looking forward to it. All right, thanks, Colson. Please find me.